All right, it's Friday, November 24th. This is an end of the day, an end of the short week SPY recap. And today we end up on a half day trading with a very narrow inside day that stayed inside the high and low of Wednesday. And on Wednesday, as you recall, we had an inside bar on Tuesday that had a potential breakout failure. And we tried to break out and it kind of just held. It didn't really follow through strongly, and yet it didn't fail. So we're sitting here kind of stuck at a point where things can go either way. We'll get into the some of the biases and play some of the key levels to monitor for. But as of today, first of all, there was just nothing to do today. It was a half day of trading. First bar, was red inside the pre-market range between the blue lines, so we weren't even breaking out above that or below that. Very quickly on bar number 2, we tried down, then immediately started up, and then on bar 3, for a split second, we tried to get above bar 1, and then immediately failed. So within 3 bars here, you saw you weren't really going anywhere, and given the nature of a half-day trading inside the pre-market range, not surprised, and then just watching price action, we just stayed inside the first bar all day long. So nothing to really report on, no real trades today. And we now have to look ahead, and here are some of the key things the way I'm kind of viewing it. First of all, you have the weekly chart, green, green, green. So the bias is definitely to the upside. We did hit a key inflection point here, then things didn't fail. So I still have the bias here as I look at this chart towards these highs up here, even though on the last few days we failed to really continue higher. Nevertheless, I still, until we really break down, this is the interesting thing now, below the halfway point of that of this weekly bar, which is this purple line I drew. I'm comfortable kind of staying to the long side and thinking we can, even at exhaustion risk on this chart, we can still head higher to hit those higher targets. So that's kind of a key level I really want to monitor for into next week, the midpoint of this week here at the purple line. Now, where that sets up is right here in the middle of this inside bar from last week. And that was kind of a good little area to monitor for. If we were going to break out of that and fail and come back through the range, we were going to come through that point. We didn't quite fail on Wednesday, but we didn't follow through higher. So what could happen here is we can come down tomorrow, let's say below this bar, or on Monday, and get kind of a sell signal. I will try it, but I really want to see, and this would be the target here, Wednesday's low, but I want to see at that point if we can break through this area here. Any kind of sell signal that unfolds, I want to get through that point, because if not, I could see us starting down here out of these, inside bars, but holding the midpoint of the prior week and then failing and starting up. So if we start down, that's fine. I just want to, I would prefer on a failure week to really start below this line and then get a 2 down week, as opposed to being up here near the highs and then trying to work all the way down. But it is possible if we start up high, and start negative, we could get a 2 down week. So I'll go with it, but I'm looking for failures kind of that would unfold here. If price action doesn't, unfold to the downside strongly, I'm ready for that reversal back up in some form. On the push up, same type of thing where I'm always looking for a failure, but in this case, the failure will occur more on this bar from today. In other words, if we start up, which I kind of still expect to kind of test the highs of the previous week, I'll go with that. And maybe after 2 days of pausing, we get momentum to the upside towards those bigger picture targets. But if we fail, then we come through this bar here, and then, let's say we start up. If we don't really follow through and come down through that bar, then I can maybe look for a 2 up. Another thing that can happen is we take out the high of the previous week. That's what I'm kind of saying. Then we fail coming back through this bar, and that starts getting through the midpoint of the prior week. So in other words, if we take out the high of this week, don't reach these targets up here, and then start down and get through the halfway point of that week, that's a failed week, and we can expect an outside bar 3 week to the downside. So that could happen very, on the daily chart. On one little push up here that fails and starts through the midpoint of that bar, that could be the chain reaction to get to the midpoint of the week, and then an outside week to the downside. So that's kind of the things I'm looking for in this very tight little area where the market is kind of hesitant one way or the other. It's a little tricky, so we're just going to have to go with price action. And as always, I'll start with the pre-market range and the first bar and kind of where things go. And I kind of know my reference points now for continuations or failures. I know the big picture targets. on the upside, get back to up here. And I know that if we fail, then we start having, we could take out the weekly low. And if we get to the weekly low and get a 2 down week, we have this whole gap to fill in down here. So that could be a nice pullback, and some downside action, if that wants to occur after some exhaustion risk. So at this point, tough to say what's going to happen. As always, you can't predict it. But in this case, we have some good reference points, and we will see how next week unfolds.